Right. So for the ones that don't know what we do at WeatherXM, I'm just going to very quickly walk you through. So this is the temperature forecast for Brussels, where we are today, as plotted by models on Sunday, so a couple of days ago. And as you can see on Wednesday, some of the models predicted up to 30 degrees heat, and others were at 25. And we really don't know what's going to happen, because every meteorological model is using different data or different calculations, and they yield different results. So there's always a forecasting accuracy everywhere in the world. Some places are better, some places are worse, but we need more data to improve forecast accuracy to solve this problem. And that's what we're doing basically in WeatherXM. We're utilizing a dense network of weather stations that are deployed by the community, and we try to provide more accurate weather services because we benefit from the data that are at the exact customer's location. And so far, we've deployed more than 5,600 stations in more than 80 countries. And you can check out our Explorer and to see live stations and live weather data from all over the world. And the core idea here is a new business model for deploying weather infrastructure. So in our economy, WeatherXM network rewards weather station owners for the data contribution in WXM tokens. And customers that want to utilize this data or services, they buy these services either directly from the network or through broker companies who add more value to this data by converting them into forecasts and so on. To support this, we had to build our own hardware. This is one of our weather stations, and it's a special device mainly because it has a crypto chip that signs the payload of the sensors in connection with a secure GPS element. So we are trying to create weather cryptographic proofs on weather conditions, and that is necessarily for a number of reasons: to power the rewarding economy around the token, but also to open up new opportunities utilizing weather data on chain. And another benefit of this approach is that we have a really, really healthy network because there's an incentive for weather station operators to do the best possible job that they can in deploying and maintaining the station. So we know that more than 80% of our network is in perfect condition because we track this on a daily basis because it's part of the reward mechanism. But can you have a healthy network if it's centralized, controlled by the team that created the network in the first place, basically by us? And is this really a dipping project in the sense of, is this decentralized enough? And I mean, according to me, no. I mean, we need to do more work on this thing. And we started back in 2015, so the project goes way back in time. But the first version of what WeatherXM is today was created in 2019 when we did a proof of concept. It's in GitHub, and basically we connected one of our weather stations directly to IPFS. So we did a microcontroller IPFS client that was connecting to IPFS, and from there we were getting the data to all the other infrastructure, serving it to Ethereum smart contracts using Chainlink and so on. So when we started, one might say that we were more decentralized than we are today. And in the last year, and in relationship to what we have in the pipeline for doing in the next year, we've done a lot of changes to the architecture. Many of them are related with the fact that our token is on mainnet, so we've done with the beta testing and with the very heavy experimentation. So we couldn't afford to have mechanisms that are not well constructed. So we moved a lot of stuff to the centralized web, basically. But we're trying to decentralize again as much as we can. And one of the things that we've done here in the Filecoin ecosystem, and with the help of partners, companies around around Filecoin is we're using Tableland to move our data into Filecoin, basically. So we are archiving our data on a daily basis, the entire network data into Filecoin. And this is great because it unlocks a number of different things like retrieval data with proofs. And this is part of the roadmap, but we haven't fully decentralized everything yet. So this is why I'm having this presentation. I want to touch a little bit on the points that on the areas that we're working and ask for help from the Filecoin or general Deepin ecosystem community in case something clicks. Another thing that by having the data on Filecoin, it's easy for us to run computation on the data. And so we've done a few proof of concepts with Bacalhau where we load, and we are in a position right now to load the data of any station and calculate its rewards and its score using decentralized infrastructure. So that's a first step towards this decentralization of the reward mechanism. And I've got a few slides here that they explain a little bit how we do that, just to give an idea to the audience. But essentially what we want is to do more or do alternative implementations of this. So right now you can find all the data of the network in our index URL, and there is a Docker container that has all the code for the Bacalhau image to do these calculations in GitHub. So essentially, I have a few slides here. I'm not going to go through the details, but anyone can go to this index page, select a data set, which is the data of the network for an entire day, the entire network, the entire day, all the stations. These data sets today are roughly half a gigabyte on a daily basis. So yeah, so running a long but relatively simple command, somebody can trigger a job in Bacalhau that will fetch the data from Filecoin and do the computations that we have in this Docker image container, which is essentially the score calculations for the quality of data for that particular station that defines how many token rewards that station will get. So once the job is done, which is in a couple of seconds, you get something like this. So some JSON files, some graphs to validate that everything is reasonable, and that's it. I mean, that's a small part of the whole infrastructure and architecture we have today, but this part is fully open source and decentralized. And also the data are made available in IPFS. So this is not enough. We want to do better than this. So we are looking into areas where we can use some kind of nodes that will receive the data directly from the hardware, from the weather stations, as it was the idea back in 2019. We don't want to build those nodes ourselves, and there are a lot of projects that are dealing with this outside, and Tableland is actually one of them. That's why we're working together, but I'm sure there are alternative paths there too. So we need some kind of nodes that are operated by an existing community that will be able to authenticate our devices, and our devices have this crypto chip, so there has to be some kind of lookup on-chain for the public keys of these devices. And also, those nodes should be able to support like very simple clients because those devices are microcontrollers, they're not Linux devices, so we cannot do fancy stuff because they are very energy, low power basically devices, so that's why they cannot run a full-blown operating system. The other area, and so that's one area that we are focusing in the future, and we are looking for support from other teams, other products that we could utilize, other networks, and so on. Another area that we feel we have to improve is the quality of data that I mentioned before, the Bacalhau proof of concept. It's not the full reward mechanism, so in order for the full reward mechanism to run, you have to do those calculations for every single station, but you also have to put all the data together in a data set and then do some aggregations on top of the data, because our economy, The reward per day are fixed, and we are just dividing the rewards among the weather stations of the network. So we need, for the reward mechanism to work, it has to have all the data for all the stations. And we're building something similar for forecasts as well. So we have this mechanism internally that is tracking the accuracy of third-party forecasts. So, and that is a core element into creating a better forecast, basically. And we would like to open source this and to decentralize this so we can handle situations in the future that there might be disputes about who is better, who is worse, because there's going to be a lot of interesting things that will be exposed once we do this in an open source style. So yeah, that's another area that we're working. And the last two are related with the demand side of the data. So we're working on an explorer basically that will enable candidate customers to pinpoint the cells that they require weather stations to be deployed, so therefore they require additional weather data. And the way that they will signal this is by staking tokens, staking our own token into those cells, so those tokens will convert into rewards, and we think that should also be done in a decentralized style. And actually there should be some kind of platform to facilitate this. In my point of view, there should be some kind of tip-in marketplace that and a team of people that they're solely focused on this, because this is a use case that makes a lot of sense in other different projects too. And we recently did a campaign where we managed to raise a substantial amount of capital, like $600,000, by people who want to participate in the project without deploying a weather station themselves. So the way we did this is we have crypto enthusiasts that are paying for the hardware, basically, and we are delivering this hardware to other people, to farmers, mainly farmers in developing nations, so they can benefit from weather forecasts themselves. And then we use the rewards to find some kind of fair balance between the farmers, the people that are helping with distribution, with logistics, and with the crypto enthusiasts that paid for the hardware in the first place. So we call this decoupling hardware ownership from operation, and we can do this in a centralized style, obviously in our platform, but I think the proper way to do this should be entirely on-chain, and we have initiated the necessary technologies to make that happen. And one of those is we have a NFT station representation, which is doing some Bluetooth challenges with a crypto chip on the hardware. So those are called physically backed NFTs. And basically, it's a way to make sure that the person who is interacting with the NFT of the station actually has the station in his hands at that time. And this is super cool, but I feel there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that are missing in order to have the management platform in a completely decentralized style. So that's more or less in a nutshell what we're building in WeatherXM, and that is the focus for the next few months. So happy to chat with any of you about these topics now or later in the next few days.